All right. Hey, it's Eric Johnson, and this is Building Happy Little APIs. Joining me is Veda Raman. Welcome, Veda.
Hey, Eric. Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Oh yeah, we're thrilled to have you. I hope you'll be watching here. We are going to be talking about WebSocket to you today. We're going to be talking about WebSockets, and this is kind of an interesting case. When I was talking about who wants to help me present this, Veda jumped up, and because she has been working with a client on kind of working on a proof of concept, and I'll have you explain that in a little bit. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do at AWS.
Hi, sure. Hey, my name is Veda Raman. I am a technical account manager at AWS, and I've been at AWS for like 1 year and 3 months now. I help customers with their, production system issues, or building prototypes like these, and I'm really excited about serverless. Before that, I was a C and C++ developer for Dell EMC. The good old C and C++.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know
Yeah. Yeah, I worked on storage, EMC storage, block storage, file systems. That
that.
was my
Okay.
world. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? You know how long I've been at AWS?
1 year and 3 months.
1 year today. No,
Ah,
for me. I've been today marks 1 year for me. I've been at AWS.
Congratulations.
Chris Munz has not fired me yet. Jay Nair has not fired me yet. I believe Jay has told Chris to fire me, but he hasn't done it yet. So there it is, 1 year.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty proud. I'm wearing my Serverless Days Istanbul. I did get to go. Thank you for the happy anniversary. I did get to go to Istanbul, and I've been in Istanbul and Russia for the last couple of weeks. So if you've seen some weird tweets from me and weird times, that's what's going on. But there's stories there. If we have time at the end, I might tell some. But I want to jump in to kind of talk about WebSockets on API Gateway. Veda, I'm thrilled you're here, and we're going to talk about your proof of concept in a little bit. We're not going to cover everything there is to cover about WebSockets, but I kind of want to, what your appetite for this and kind of help developers get started. One of the things, when we're building applications, a lot of times we need this two-way traffic. We need this constant chatter to go on to keep things updated. Running through like a load balance, something like that, we've had requests, can you do WebSockets? But with it being on API Gateway, it makes it very powerful and fairly easy to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a couple of overview slides, talk about kind of some things to know about API Gateways. We're jumping on this, and then we'll get into the actual solution, because I know, you don't want to see slides from me, but all right. Now, before we start, I do notice, and maybe not, but I do notice an absence of Richard Boyd from our chat list. Richard Boyd probably is being made to work right now. Richard Boyd now works for AWS. Welcome to the team, Richard Boyd. He is his developer advocate. This is an official call out, as the first call out, as you're here with us. He started yesterday. So if you're listening, Richard, glad you're here. If you're not listening, still glad you're here. So, all right, well, let's jump in and see what we've got. So when we're talking about Amazon API gateways, one of the things we need to do, obviously we need to look at routing. And how do I route and how does this work? And the cool thing with the API gateway is when we start this, we get 3 pre-built routes. And these are important on how, WebSockets work and how it's going to keep traffic going. The first is the connect route. The pre-built and the kind of the default ones start with the $ here. The connect route is called by API Gateway when a persistent connection between the client and a WebSocket API is being initiated. And Veda, correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably more the expert on this than I am, but when I make a connection, I don't necessarily have to hit the connect route, so to speak, but because I'm initiating a connection, it's going to automatically take me to the connect route.
That's right. Yes, and any authentication that you have built on this will be, the user will be authenticated during connection. Yep.
Right. Okay, excellent. So when I'm doing a WebSocket connection, I'm basically always hitting the same API, and it's gonna and what route I'm going to be taken to is decided by several things. And I might climb into those a little later, but yeah, basically one, if I'm initiating a connection, it's going to go to connect. The second one that's automatically created is a disconnect. And this is called by API Gateway when the client or the server disconnects from the API. So you don't actually have to call it. It's just when the connect is broken, then it's gonna call that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the disconnect, it could be initiated by the client or even by, the server when there's this idle timeout or something. So that's a disconnect when the connection ID is, recycled or taken back. So there's a disconnect, yes.
Okay, excellent. Alrighty. And then finally the default. Okay, and so this is called by API Gateway if the route selection expression cannot be evaluated against the message or if no matching route is found. So whatever method you choose to choose your route on the WebSockets, if it doesn't match, then it routes to the default. And you may handle that different ways. You can handle that with a Lambda. You can handle that just with, disconnect. You can do all kinds of things. But there's a default route to handle. It's a catch-all.
Sort of like that, yeah.
Okay. So the next thing we have are custom routes. And these are the routes that you can build past these. And I've got some examples here that I built that are important. The first is the pepperoni pizza route. And so what I'm doing in this is, and this probably loses something if my some of my complainers like Simon are not on the line. But what this does is I can create custom routes, and in order to signify that route, I tell the server. One way of deciding the route is I can tell the server a parameter inside my body. That was weird. A parameter inside the payload, the request body. Well, that was really weird. A parameter. I took a shot. I've got a parameter in my body. So inside the body. So for instance, if I choose action. So I can pass in the request.body.action, I can make it equal to pepperoni pizza, and then it'll route to that whatever backend I put there. I can do sausage pizza, and that'll route, and I can put Dr. Pepper. And I just want to stop for a minute. And this, I probably owe you guys a minute of your life after this, but we just had a call out. Chris Munns, who's my boss, did a thank you, congratulations to me for making it a year. And if you know anything about me, I drink a lot of Dr. Pepper in my Yeti. This is not a brand awareness, but that is how I roll. And he asked Dr. Pepper if they would say congratulations to me. And about 20 minutes ago, it happened. So I'm pretty excited. So Dr. Pepper, I'm now calling you out saying thank you. You are one of my API endpoints. So exciting. So anyway, with Dr. Pepper, we can do the request.body.action Dr. Pepper, and that happens. However, what if we did something like request.body.action equals pineapple pizza? Well, if you know me at all, pineapple pizza, pineapple on pizza, not a thing, not good, bad for you, probably against the law in a lot of states. And so what happened was...
I love pineapple pizza.
Okay. Hey, Bernie, can you cut beta speed, please? That'd be great. So anyway, no, if you love pineapple, you're welcome to be wrong, and you're late in the debate, but that's the debate going on, and Simon will probably give you a big hug for saying that. But, so pineapple pizza, so if I don't have a route that matches pineapple pizza, then it's going to get routed back to default. So that's kind of how the routing works. And again, you have multiple ways of identifying the routes and how you lay that out. So I am getting some chatter in the chat, and they're saying no pineapple pizza. Okay, yeah, no, we've got some debate going on, but that's okay. So, all right. So when you're done with that, then what you've got is you've got this idea of you've got multiple routes. You've got your standard default ones that are automatically created, and you have your custom ones that you create on your own. Now, let's talk about security. And a couple of things that I'll point out there, and then actually I'm gonna turn it over to Veda here in a little bit. She's gonna talk through some of this stuff. But when we talk about security, sometimes to understand when you're doing the WebSocket application is the connection endpoint protects the entire API. So if I can't hit the connection endpoint, then I'm not going to hit any of the other API endpoints. So when we add, much like a REST API, we can use authorizers. However, what's different here is there's only two authorizers you can use with API Gateway and a WebSocket application. You can use an AWS IAM authorizer, and what that means is that the client will need to send credentials when they request, and those credentials will be verified. Or you can use a custom authorizer, and that's really, however you want to do it, but a custom authorizer uses a Lambda, whatever logic you need to do. Do you need to check, against an Active Directory? Do you need to check something? And then you can then you can return with an authorized or unauthorized. The missing one here that you would see in a REST API is a Cognito authorizer, and at the moment it's not supported in WebSocket applications. So that's important to point out. All right, that's about all I'm going to do on covering that. I want to give you some time to chat through this, and then we'll take some questions and things like that. But again, when I sent out a request for someone to join me on this, Veda jumped in because she, again, had been working on a proof of concept. I'm going to pull this up, and can you kind of tell us the story of what you're doing and why you built this?
Sure, yeah. So this was like a proof of concept for one of my clients where they had a need where a use case where multiple, WebSocket clients are connected, to their service, right? And those WebSocket clients needed real-time access to the data that the service provides. So when we talk real-time, Kinesis is a real-time streaming application that we have, and streaming service that we have. So these WebSocket clients, request, this data in real time. And whenever, the important part to point out here is the service needs to push data whenever there is data to be pushed, like, over the, persistent connection. It's not like a REST API where there's a request and there's a response back. Okay. So that's why, they needed a WebSocket, API. Okay. And so, API Gateway WebSockets being very lightweight and serverless, of course, there's no need to maintain servers was the obvious choice. And so we built this proof of concept for it. Yay!
Yeah, exactly. All right, so to make sure I understand, so they needed something that was real time, but they didn't want to pull. They didn't want to be doing request and response. They wanted to they wanted stuff pushed to them.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And that needs to be real time when, the data could keep changing in the back end and they want real time access to it. So our REST API or, request response model doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what you built as a proof of concept.
Yes. So we're sending here, in essence, what is happening is the real-time data is being pushed to the Kinesis data streams, and we have a Kinesis consumer Lambda function which is consuming that data. And the WebSocket clients are connected through API Gateway WebSockets, right? And whenever there's a new connection come in, the connect route that you talked about, Eric, the connect route will store that connection ID whenever it's connected in a DynamoDB table. Right? Okay. And on a disconnect, that connection ID will be deleted from the DynamoDB table, so it's kept consistent. And then we do have a default route as well. And what I did was added a custom route here called get. That's a way for the WebSocket client to say, hey, I'm ready to receive the data now once I'm connected.
All right, so it kind of marks them as opted in. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, I'm opting in for your service to receive the data, and that will go and sort of, update the record in the DynamoDB table. And then once that's done, this Lambda consumer function, which is consuming data from the Kinesis stream, will post all the data to all the connected clients. It'll pull the data from DynamoDB table, for all the connection IDs. Okay. And whoever is opted in for the service, it'll sort of call back those clients and push the data to those clients.
Alrighty, so DynamoDB will hold all the connection IDs, but will also identify which of those want data and which, so that way they can turn it off and on as they need, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, interesting proof of concept. All right, I like it. Okay. So what I've asked is if Veda's going to kind of build this in front of us, kind of show them what she's got, and I'll be answering questions as needed. So I'm going to pop us over to the show me the code, and you have it. Turn it over to you.
All right, so let's hop on to the console. So I already have the Kinesis data streams built, and I already have the Lambda functions that are the backend for these WebSocket APIs ready. So I'm just going to show you how to build the WebSocket APIs in the API Gateway console. So here I am. I'll go and create the API. So it's a red pocket API, so I'll choose that. Let's say happy little WebSockets. Okay. Now I need to choose a route selection expression. So it's suggesting me request.body.message. Let's go ahead and do that. So request.body.message. And then I create the API. It's so simple. Yeah. Now, as Eric said, we have these three routes, connect, disconnect, and default that are pre-built. So let me go ahead and set up the Lambda backend Lambda functions so that they can do their thing when the connect, disconnect, and default are called. So this is a Lambda function. I'm gonna say I have it already, and then I'm gonna click on save. Okay.
All right, so and I'm gonna just say real quick, what that was doing is when you build this from within the dashboard, that automatically gives API Gateway the role that what you were saying, hey, we're gonna give permission to invoke, and it asked her if you want to do that, but that's making sure that the permissions to invoke that Lambda was given to API Gateway as well. So yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. So let's go to the disconnect route. Let's go to the integration request. And then I'm going to choose the disconnect function there that I have. I'm going to save it. And let's go to the default route. And I want integration type Lambda again. And yes, I have my default function pop up, thankfully. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna add a new one, new route key for get here. And that, hopefully, is that the one? Yep. All right, so I have the get function over there. All right, connect, disconnect, default, and get. All right, what's next, Eric?
Well, so you've got them tied in. I would love to show some of the code and how you're doing specifically to send data back. So if you kind of walk us through the code and the lambdas you're doing, that'd be great. Now I understand you did it in Python, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
I won't understand the thing you're doing, but no, that's not. I do some Python, but I'm a Node guy normally. But yeah, that's right. Why are you deploying?
Yes, this changes will take effect only when I deploy it to a stage.
Right. Yep. So tell the honest truth. How many times have you gone to your live and tried to get it to work and gotten irritated that nothing works, only to realize you haven't deployed?
Almost all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. So I will create a new stage, say test, and deploy. So now I have a stage. It gives me a WebSocket URL. This is the URL that my clients have to call for connecting. And this is the callback URL where my Lambda function, if it has to send a message back to the clients, has to use this callback URL.
Okay, alrighty. So it's using the connections callback And it's used, yeah, okay, I follow what you're saying. Okay.
Mhm. All right, so let me go to the Lambda and show you the actual functions here. So this is the connect, this is in Python. I just wrote it right here. So if you can see, it is, in this table, DynamoDB table, it's adding the connection ID from the event request that's available. And it's putting that item in the DynamoDB table. All that is doing is just adding the connection ID to the DynamoDB table in the app connect Lambda function. Where if we go back, in the disconnect function, it's gonna delete the connection ID because it's disconnecting
Right.
from the DynamoDB table, right? Let me go back.
So the connect one just simply adds the connection to the DynamoDB, and the disconnect removes it, and that's how it knows whether the person should be connected or not.
Correct.
So, okay.
Yeah. And the get function. So get function is, if you remember, this is how the WebSocket clients say, hey, I'm ready to get the data, the real-time data from the Kinesis stream. So what it does is it goes and updates the item, with the connection ID and sets a need update value to say yes. And
Okay.
so, yes. So this is just going to go and say toggle a value for a need update to yes. And then once that is done, my Kinesis consumer function here, oops, I'll have to show it to you over here. Here it is. This is my Kinesis consumer function.
Alrighty.
So it is receiving records from Kinesis data streams and calculates. So I'll show you what kind of data I'm pushing to the Kinesis stream. But basically, it's trying to calculate the average temperature in a batch of records, and then it calls the WebSocket URL function, and this function goes ahead and for each of the connection IDs in the DynamoDB table, it'll just post back the data to the connection ID.
Okay.
The callback URL.
Okay.
Getting the callback URL over here, the endpoint URL. I'm setting the client with the endpoint URL. I'm getting it from the environment variables on this Lambda function.
All right, so, and you're using the API Gateway Management API. What is that doing for you?
This one, this is the Border 3 client for API Gateway WebSockets.
Okay, all righty. And is that handling the SIG v4, do you know?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so too. So when you call on the connect, you need to do the SIG v4, and you can do that on your own, but that's not fun. I'll tell you right here and now. So what you're able to do is this will handle, and what it's doing is it's signing it and letting the endpoint know, hey, I'm allowed to call this. These are my credentials, and I'm calling in, and it's you. And the credentials it's getting is from the role that it's the Lambda has. So it passes those credentials in a SIG v4. It's a signed request, and then and your API Gateway Management API handles that for you.
Yeah. All right, so let me go ahead and run this and show you how it actually works. So before I do that, I have to go back to API Gateway console and get this callback connection URL and put it in my Lambda functions consumer here. All right, and save it. And over here in my default as well.
Right, so you're updating that.
All right. Hopefully now all of this should work. Let me get the WebSocket URL here. And I'm gonna start generating some data. So this is a Kinesis data generator, a simple, really cool tool. I love it. I'm using this to push records into my Kinesis data stream, which I have already set up. So I'm gonna choose US East 2, that's where I'm working out of, and this is my Kinesis stream. I'm gonna push 100 records per second of this format, where this is just I'm just simulating some IoT data where it has a sensor ID, it's pushing in some random number for minimum and maximum temperature, and then the status of, okay, failure warning. So I'm gonna start sending this data.
And I just posted, if you're dealing with Kinesis and you need to generate data, this is the way to go.
Yeah, this is really
cool. All right, so now you're generating data. Now what are you doing here?
So this is a WebSocket client that I installed, a command line tool.
Okay.
And I'm using that to connect to the WebSocket API. So I have to use the URL that I got from after deploying my WebSocket API. I'm connecting. Hopefully it will connect. Yep, now I'm connected. Okay. And so let me say message was the keyword that I used, and a JSON payload of get, right? And hopefully I should come on. Should start pushing out. Oops, uh-oh. Oh yeah, there you go.
There it is, all right. So now that data, what's coming in through Kinesis is coming through you at very low latency.
Yes, it's super low latency. The end-to-end latency I measured was like less than 60 to 70 milliseconds.
Okay, that's not bad. So how would I turn this off? So let's say, so I've got this data coming in. So would I be able to send a message to say stop coming now?
Yes, but I have not implemented that in the.
Oh, okay, sorry, I totally stumped you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
But we could have another client here. Let me stop this here. Could have another client.
Yes, it's alive. Someone said it's alive. Yes, it is working.
Yay. So let's test the default route. So I say message, say info. There's no info route.
Right.
Oops, I don't know what's going on. It shouldn't have said that.
Connection ID. So you're connected, right? Yeah.
Yes, I am connected. I don't know. It should have worked. I'm connected. This is working. Yep. Maybe my Lambda function.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
On it. Let's go look at it. So it did invoke the default.
Alrighty. So that means the Lambda function got invoked, but now I want to see if it errored out. So she's gone into CloudWatch, she's looking at the logs, and invalid syntax.
Is this? Let's go there. Line 17. Oh. Let's do this.
Now, here being not a Python guy at all I can do is just
I know.
Yeah.
Hopefully this should work now. Oh, yeah.
Hello, hey, nice live
Hey.
editing.
So that was my default route that got involved.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So we got a question: is the code or proof of concept available on GitHub? Could be a very helpful project in the AWS samples page. So it's not, but we have another one that is, and I will actually post a link here. One of the standard ones that we use. Oops, actually, let me pull up the blog here. One of the standard ones that we use for kind of showing off WebSockets is this chat that was built originally. And I'm going to post the link here real quick. And it has code, and I believe it's a SAR, Service Application Repository app you can install from. So that will give you some examples of building out code. I believe it's a node. But that'll show the code and how we're attaching to different things. So, Veda, is there anything else you want to show, or should we just look for questions now?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So today's show's gonna be a little shorter. We just kind of wanted to give a highlight on this. Now, a couple things I will tell you, and I'm gonna get into the weeds a little bit here. We talked about selecting expressions in API Gateway. And what that means is much like, can you go back to where it shows the routes? There you go. Up there, so her selection expression is request.body.message. And so every time, like we talked about before, it's gonna evaluate the body and look for request.body.message. If message doesn't exist, it's gonna go to default. But you can actually get a little more complex with this. And you can use, much like we said, the route selection expression. You can also use model selection expressions. So you can have models, and if it matches a model, it'll go to the route. So you can create a model, and you see down here, like the fourth one down on the left. And Veda, I'm not asking you to demo this. I'm start throwing things at you. Hey, demo this, but I just kind of want to let people know. You can go in and create models, and if it matches, then it will put it through. You can do template selection expressions where you can do kind of dynamic based on the VTL templates that we use in API Gateway. The VTL is Apache Velocity template language, so that gives you some flexibility. You can also do API key selection expressions, so you can look for an API key that's passed in as a header. That will be there, and there's other options as well. I'm going to post the documentation to help you on this, but I would encourage you to look at this. And there's quite a few different ways to select the expression that you want to do. With that, I'm going to open it up to any more questions, and I'm not seeing any in here, but would love to answer any if we have. If not, then we'll probably wrap up this one a little earlier than normal. But hey, Veda, while we're waiting for questions, I really appreciate it. This is really cool. Like I said, this is a real world example of a proof of concept that we're able to show this client that you were working with, saying, hey, here's a possible way of doing that. Now, obviously, there's some robustness we can build around this, monitoring, alerting. And if you could do a front end application using Amplify or Vue or JS or something. Those with Amplify, and so there's a lot of power that can be done here. So
yeah, absolutely, and scaling. API Gateway gives you that automatic scaling. You can, I believe, you can add like 500 new client connections every second. So that's the scale that you get.
Yeah,
really, really cool, and really the scaling is the issue. Scaling was the thing that my client was really attracted to.
Okay, all righty. And of course the back end, because it's serverless, because you're running Lambda functions, that's going to scale with it. You're running DynamoDB. Now, and you don't have to answer the question, but can you do this without DynamoDB?
You could, but if you want to be able to broadcast messages, you
Right.
would need to store the connection ID somewhere.
Right. So it can be done somewhere. DynamoDB really makes the most sense, I think, in this architecture. Yeah, you can do it without, but it's really, you kind of lose kind of the power of being able to talk back to individuals and send data back. DynamoDB is a great way to just to store that the connection and any other information you need. It also is serverless. It's redundant. It's reliable. So. All right. Well, with that, I think, Vinny, you explained it so well. There are no questions. So I really appreciate it. And this right now is probably going to be our last episode before reInvent. Although we may be looking at some one-off or special episodes coming up. But guys, I've enjoyed doing Happy Little APIs. This has been a lot of fun. For those, we did get the question earlier, is this the first of these episodes? This is actually the 11th of these episodes. And you can see in there I posted the link to the Twitch videos. That's a collection. Today's won't be there until about tomorrow, probably 24 hours. But after that, there's a collection of we try to get them in order. I think sometimes they get a little out of order, but we cover things like security and API gateway. We cover different we cover all kinds of different things like well, a great example here is instead of using a Lambda on the Connect, you could actually use VTL and directly write to DynamoDB if you wanted. Now, you'd probably want a Lambda on the backside, although actually you could do a scan with VTL. What I'm saying is kind of in advanced topics is you don't even need the Lambda for the connect and the disconnect. It could be handled with VTL, the velocity templating language, and direct integrations with DynamoDB. So we covered things like that. We covered we had Ask the Experts, where we brought in and talked about a little bit about our roadmap, what we'd like to see with Ryan Waite. And like I said, it's been a blast. Veda, I appreciate you helping me with this session. And with that, I think if I don't see any more questions, I think we are out.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you. Bernie, I think we're done.